What it do, what it do, what it do.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. You dig? It's us. If you don't know who we are right now, I guess we can reintroduce ourselves. I'm Cameron,
Stop it. And I'm Rue.
and you're rocking with Keep It a Buck. Ha Yeah, man. It's another good week. Obviously, Cam. We are here on a Friday night. I've been looking at the recent episodes, and I feel like we just cannot. You'll see one episode's on like a Tuesday afternoon, the next episode's on a Friday evening, the next episode's on a Wednesday at 4 p.m. And I'm like, this is nice, but God, we have such terrible timing.
I wouldn't say it's terrible.
No, I'm just making fun of it.
I wouldn't say it's terrible. I mean,
We always get the job done.
the main thing is the main thing. I mean, it goes out.
The main thing is the
And
main
when you're in the world of content creation, you have to be able to adjust
To the game.
There's always things that come up. There might be opportunities where you just have to do certain things, move stuff
Absolutely.
around. But
I think we're pretty consistent.
the
with
good part is
communicating.
that we're still recording, and whatever day it's been on, it's still getting done, and you're still building up the vault. I would say we're like two or 3 weeks ahead right now. I'm not too sure.
I think we're 9 at this episode that will be coming out the week of October. Is going to be episode 10. I think, and I thought that was where does the time go? So, like I said, by the time that'll come out, obviously, the episode will be released probably like 2 or 3 weeks in advance. So, man, I think to your point, it's all about adjusting to the game and kind of making things shake, and then kind of keeping it consistent. A wise man once told me, I heard this, you got to stick to the ebbs and flows. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to my boy Rue for that line, because he dropped that. You know what I mean? So yeah, man. It's a great opportunity, I think, just to be in this position, to consistently have an opportunity to do what we do. But I don't need to get all sentimental and whatnot. I think we kind of get in, we understand what it is. But, you can always be grateful, by all means. You know what I'm saying? You can always be grateful for this moment and for everything that we do. So we have a lot of people that love and support us, and we're in this moment right now, and that kind of, that kind of correlates with everything going on today. But more or less, man, kind of just want to catch up with you, brother. How's your week been, man? What's up with your weekends? What's your plans? How's life been for you?
Bro, it's been crazy. It's been super busy. Nonetheless, okay, good, I'm connected. It's been super busy nonetheless. Been basically, it doesn't stop. Came back from Lubbock, edited that video, I think Monday or Tuesday. I think I finished it Tuesday. Monday, I'm trying to think what we did Monday. I don't think we did anything Monday. Tuesday, shot 54 yards. The episode's dropping tomorrow in the morning, so you
I'm
guys
excited for that episode.
Yeah, it'll be good. It's, the editing's good on this one. I took my time, and there's some cool stuff good visual.
I have to put it on tomorrow. I'll be in my bag with everything. So I would like to.
It'll be a good background filler.
That's what I'm saying, but I don't really get the opportunity to watch like a lot of y'all stuff. I listen to everything at
Load
work.
that Volt up.
You know what I'm saying? I be listening to everything at work, so it kind of sucks because I know you guys in PCT be using a lot of visuals and a lot of good things. Like your opinionated off topics, I try to watch because I just want to identify a name with the face. Yeah, absolutely.
We have some bangers coming up in that. So we have like.
I'm pretty familiar with you and Lo, so I don't have to see y'all's faces.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing.
You know what I'm
the
saying?
camera really. When Albert's not there, and we don't have that third camera yet, so when Albert's not there, it's just on the guest and the main cam. So. Obviously you want to see the guests, and then it just cuts to the main cam.
Absolutely.
Yes,
you know what I'm saying?
Obviously,
people know you're pretty faces.
Yeah. We'll have that professional flow soon enough when we have more hands and stuff involved. But we got, shot 54 yards. Tuesday, PCT and them did fast lanes. They did Jasmine's fast lane.
Wow.
Michael, who was on the pod before. They did Sias fast lanes. So they did 3 other fast lanes. So they're loading up that fast lane queue. And hopefully we start seeing more of those. Wednesday, we ended up going to the Riser Nation networking event. Shout out to Matt and Christian for throwing a phenomenal event. Great to see people we've already had on the podcast. Saw the boy Jacob Hopkins out there. Saw Tri Mafia, Carlos and Broxton. And then
Dang, that's a lot of folks.
Yeah, and then we also saw John Daniel, who we had on the following day, who was a friend of mine that we were trying to get on for a while, and we actually had him on the very next day. And you know, it was crazy. I mean, the experience of the networking event was super phenomenal. CJ met CJ. So CJ was in line. We went to go use the restroom. I went up there. I went to use the restroom. CJ's in line trying to get another beer. He ends up meeting Lewis and I think Trent are the two owners of Loaded Toad or Floating Toad. And
I'm about to say,
if you guys,
yeah.
right,
Oh, yeah, don't you do that to the
Floating Toad. Sorry, guys.
Oh, my
You know it's
God.
love, but Floating Toad, went over to them. We saw the merch. It was super fire. And them boys actually drove from Auburn, Alabama.
Really?
Yeah, they drove 12 hours from Auburn, Alabama. They're also in college, and they're not even, they're barely 21. So, putting in perspective, seeing the dedication, they're already ahead of the game, right?
Absolutely.
We started doing this
Absolutely.
after college. They're already doing this while they're in school and making sacrifices.
And that's a sacrifice, bro. That's a steep.
Yeah,
That is
steep
a
drive.
steep drive.
Steep drive. And they showed us some merch. We were like, oh, this is fire. And they were like, we were like, how much is it? And they were like, oh, shirts are only 10, hats were 25, and shorts were 25. So we were like, bro, what? Like, y'all selling it for that? Like, CJ was like, I'll buy all your shirts. So CJ bought 3 shirts. He got some mesh shorts and a hat, and I got a hat, a shirt, and I got the little like gym material shorts.
I like that.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. So
That's crispy.
And they hand sew all their stuff, like all their logos and stuff are like all
yeah.
hand sewed. So they were doing like apparently one of them was doing it back in the hotel, was like hand sewing stuff, and while the others were setting up at the event. So it was cool to meet them. They actually ended up hitting us up later in the night, came over, chopped it up with us some more. They actually got up on the Riser podcast that following the next day, but they are also on PCT. The episode will be coming out sometime next week. But CJ, they hit up CJ and they were like, "Yeah, we're in town, but like, yeah, we're on more business related stuff. We're not really trying to sightsee and stuff. You have a podcast, like we'll get on it. We're just trying to get exposure." So they got on PCT. And CJ, handled it all by himself. He did the audio. He managed the camera, set up the lights, and carried the conversation with 3 other gentlemen. And I'm very proud of him because, obviously, like we always say, you really got to know what it takes to do certain things and get there. And that's like a big step for CJ to just do that on his own and handle that. So proud of the boy for that.
Man, I want to give him a little bit of love, bro, because I was listening to him talk today on their kind of September recap they had going on, and just listening to them explaining. And CJ was really getting in his bag about how he's taking a lot more time to be selfish, and not in a negative way, I would say, but more so in a perspective that's helping him and forcing him to grow because he's not comfortable with where he's at. And I love to hear that because that means I feel he has more, and I hate the potential word because potential just means it's there, but you're not, your potential to me, it sounds good, but I feel like in retrospect, it's like a barrier. It's something that's stopping you from being where you're supposed to be. Something that's like, oh, I see it in them, but they're not there yet. And some things take time and they take growth, and you have to learn and go through obstacles, adversity, negative experiences, good experience. It's all a part of the game. But to hear him still say, we've done everything we've done. We've got to this point. We've got some exposure. We've got some notion, and yet I'm still not happy with where I'm at and what I'm doing, bro. It's refreshing because I look at him and I really do see a lot of that ambition, a lot of that drive, a lot of that opportunity that he sees is for the taking. So, I mean, man, to his point, I'm happy for him. I genuinely am happy and I'm proud of him. So I got, got to take that time to show that admiration for my boy because he's really out here doing his thing.
Yeah.
And that's a big thing for him too. Like I said, host that and set up man, that's the guy right there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So, shout out CJ. He's been, killing it. I was really proud of him for doing that. So they shot that podcast. They shot the podcast on Thursday during the day. Yeah. And then we ended up shooting the boy John Daniel. Podcast was amazing. I think Kat was there. She's a testament to the podcast.
Yeah.
Dude, it was just so like refreshing to hear someone with that kind of energy, his drive, talking about like another one from a sports background, did wrestling. Then we end up diving into 75 Days Hard because he actually did it.
Wow.
He's also one of the motivating factors for me to do it.
Yeah.
And basically him kind of giving his testimony on 75 Days Hard and explaining, basically, because I was telling him, I was like, I haven't started it yet because I've gotten so busy and things aren't aligning with my schedule, and I just want to make sure I'm in the perfect mindset and resource-wise to do it appropriately. And he was like, bro, he's like, that's the thing. It's never going to be set up perfect. He's like,
Perfectly.
you just gotta go do it. And he's like, once you
Absolutely.
start, you'll do it. And he's like, and you're reading the book, and he's like, because he's like, there's this chapter in the book called God mode. He's like, once you get to God mode, like, it's a sense of fulfillment and a sense of understanding like what you're really capable of and battling
Yeah.
with himself. And it was like, it's crazy, bro. That like to me, that's one of my like every time I do a podcast, I always say it's been my favorite one, and I truly mean that to all my guests that I have on. But man, this podcast has hit a little different, bro. Just because like I'm a very passionate person, but then having someone else that's just like that and just get you fired up, having that conversation with a guy like that, and it's just someone you want to see win, and you just someone you want to keep around in your circle.
Absolutely.
So we shot his podcast and did all that this week, and then now we're here on Friday. Went to Collective earlier, and was gonna link up with the House of Dreamer boys, but we both got busy, so we got some stuff coming along. But missed another topic. Fuck, dude, busy ass week. Earlier in the day today, we talked to the boy Silo. Shout out Noah Sanchez. He's one of the boys that during COVID we were gaming a lot.
Yeah.
And he became the homie. Ended up was a streamer and ended up wanting to learn how to really grow like analytics and streaming and like TikTok clips, YouTube, all that stuff. He studied it while he was in high school for 2 years. Just recently graduated. And now he does this full time and he'll be the first person that we're outsourcing some content to, so he'll be doing all our clips for us for the podcast, for the opinionate off topics, and then going from there, depending on how that goes, and we'll like eventually with more bandwidth for everybody, bring him in to do the Keep It a Buck clips and PCT podcast clips, and just to kind of take something off everybody's plate.
Yeah.
So it's just good to finally know like this is going to be the growth. It was cool to have the conversation with him, giving us positive feedback, talking about the thumbnails, talking about the titles, being very genuine, honest about stuff, and then just really wanting us to win, saying he's been watching us from the outside for a while, so he wants to see us really win. And that's why he tweeted his tweets. I don't really tweet when I work with someone, which he doesn't. And the fact that he said that for me, I really know he's going to deliver, and I'm excited to see what that holds for all of us, because the more and more each person grows, the more and more it's going to help everybody. But been a busy week, and now we're shooting Keep It a Buck to cap the week off, and then this weekend going out to the family, watch college football, and just kind of chill and lay low. So that's my plan.
Yeah, man.
A lot happened, but that was my week in a
I'm
nutshell.
about to say, so I'm gonna start by saying this. I saw this down here. Sorry, it just brought me back to last week. And man, so we were in Lubbock last weekend, man, and we went to go obviously watch Texas Tech play Texas. It was our second in the tailgate series, man, and it was a little bit different, obviously, because we didn't have access to the manpower we did with the first video. Mm-hmm. But I think overall it was still a phenomenal experience. One portion of us was in the stadium with you, Kat, and Kat's sister, but the other portion of us, me, Drake, and Zach, were in the bar.
Talk to us about that a little bit, because I want to hear how that
So, being in Austin and watching UT games, you kind of get used to, I can't say you get used to, but the environment is hands down, like I said, it's pretty phenomenal. The Texas-Alabama game at Key Bar was a phenomenal experience. I
watched
enjoyed
it.
myself.
Okay, I was wondering where y'all watched that game at, because I was like,
The Alabama and Texas?
yeah, I don't know where y'all
Key
watched
Bar.
that.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense why it was jumping like that.
Yeah,
Was it, like,
bro,
outside?
it was crazy.
Yeah.
Like, me and my coworker had went to go watch the game. Ooh, excuse me. Me and my coworker were talking about where they were going to watch the game at, because we wanted to link up. So he's like, man, come to Key Bar. We got a little spot up at the bar. I got my people here with me that are visiting. And I was like, absolutely. So I bring the group in. It's me, Drake, Velia, CJ, Zach, Alex, Zay, and I think Dre was there. No, Dre wasn't there. It was just Zay. So we all come and we go in the bar, and he was like, man, there was nobody here about like 10, 15 minutes ago. As soon as this game started, this boy started jumping. I said, no, man, I had to just to get to you, brother. Like, had me over here doing the Michael Phelps stroke through the crowd. So I finally got in there, and as the game's going on, mind you, that's probably one of the best games, in my personal opinion. That's been my favorite college football game to watch this season.
Oh, for sure. It's really good.
There was, again, unexpected. The intensity was great. Texas had that big underdog story to them, because Quinn goes out, Hudson's playing on an injury, and you're like, okay, and I don't like Alabama. So, I'm like, okay, you know what, and I'm from Austin, screw it, we'll throw the horns up, because I hate Bama. Like, I'll be A-okay with it. This is a hometown team, and they're going against the number 1 team in the country, and nobody expected them to do anything. So, you even remember from the interviews, people were like, yeah, they're going to lose 52-3. And I'm losing by 1. So, like, I digress, man. It was a great experience. So, comparing that to going to Lubbock, and now, we're in Loogies, I think this part was called.
Logies.
Logies. It's spelled like loogie, which is kind of nasty.
That's
Lubbock is a nasty place in general.
That's a fire bar, though. Logies.
Hey, no, it was. Don't get me
that's a good
wrong. Don't
spot.
get me wrong. I enjoyed it. Like I said, I liked the setup of it. It was very nice, but to call a bar a loogie is disgusting. We were in there, man, and I'm not gonna lie, man. Them Texas Tech people were treating Texas like that was a national championship.
Yeah.
Like that was.
Oh, for sure.
That was, you would expect that kind of energy. You're playing a Oklahoma, or may I say a Baylor, or maybe even a Oklahoma State.
It's Texas though. You gotta.
Yeah, absolutely. I get it. The
their
pedigree.
rival.
I get it. I get it.
It's their rival.
But like, yo. They were nuts. Do I think they were wilder than Texas fans when we played Alabama? No. I don't think they were. But I will tell you, they matched that level to a sense. You know what I'm saying? Even in the back and forth between Alabama and Texas, you saw a lot more camaraderie, I feel like, from the UT fans. Maybe, but I can't say maybe because they were all students, because I'm sure the majority of people in Luigi's was all students. You know what I'm saying? So the environments were comparable. I feel like UT fans came with a lot more of it, but man, they were, they were jumping in there. So that's disgusting. We have Houston and Tulane. We were peeping early, and Tulane just won on a field goal in overtime.
Touchdown.
Oh, that was a That was no.
Yeah, it was a touchdown. It was 21-24. They just threw a pass.
No, it wasn't 21-24.
Yeah, it was.
They're in overtime. How was it 21-24?
I know, because they just kicked the field goal.
Oh, they kicked the field goal, and then, that's disgusting. That's disgusting. Houston's been disappointing, bro. They don't drop 3 straight. That's kind of sad. You got to go for the Texas team in this case, but the game was good, right? Experience was fun. I'm glad I went to Lubbock, and I'm kind of disappointed in Alex and Carlos.
Jeez.
I just had to get that one off, man. Y'all really broke my heart with that. Overall, I enjoyed. Yeah, man.
Understandable for sure. They both dropped the ball in different ways.
Yeah, man. It broke my heart. I had to start playing the world's smallest violin. Shout out to Mr. Krabs, because
Thank God for pulling up too. I mean, I know it went up a lot in price. Which
man, it was more so again. It was for the experience and then for what we were doing.
I know. I'm just saying, like, thank y'all for going again, because technically, if y'all didn't have to pay for that, y'all could have went to the game type vibe.
Oh, absolutely.
So I was like, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And like, honestly, after going to that game with Conley, like, yeah, it was shit was fire. Like, it was amazing. The game was crazy, but like having it in person.
You was probably one of them folks rushing that field. I know.
Absolutely not.
You rushed that over. You rushed that over.
I told Conley, go down there and get the content from me, and
go down there and get the content for you. That's disgusting.
Go down there. You know what I'm saying? But,
so you think you're nice with that sweater, huh?
So you already know it's Braves Nation. I told Kat, we go to the World Series.
Bro, if they would stop showing this damn Aaron Judge every 5 seconds, this man goes up to bat. I get he's finna hit his 70th, bro, but like, trying to watch football, these boys keep on like, and Aaron Judge going up to bat.
And what's crazy? World Series tickets aren't even expensive. They're like $100 a person.
World Series tickets? Austin FC playoff tickets were crazy. They're already sold out. They don't even know who they're playing.
I just copped too. I'm going.
The playoff game?
Mm-hmm. Got to.
That's disgusting. They sold out within minutes.
I know. I actually got lucky. I got 2 for like 2. They were like 2. It was like $230
each.
No, total.
Oh, boy, I'm about to say.
No, hell no.
I get it. It's
like
Austin,
2 for $230.
It's Austin's first playoff ever, so you have to be supportive.
Well,
of
the
that.
seats we have are amazing. Like we're like right there. We're like 4 rows.
Yeah, when you're rich, you can do that.
No, stop.
So, aside from that, the week has been work, bro. We got back from Lubbock, and I kind of just jumped straight into the grind with work. I was in a real place of just kind of, I don't want to say disarray, because that sounds a little too dramatic, but a place of reflection in terms of sitting at where my mind was at, considering everything I've been going through with my job and with my circumstances, and just being in my head about what I kind of want out of this moment right now in my life in terms of getting to the next step, and not necessarily rushing it, but trusting that everything that's happening is for the right reasons, but making sure, am I doing everything I can in my power to put myself in the right place? I feel like a lot of the time, and I talk about this time and time again, bro, but we naturally take advantage of the opportunity that we're given. And it's a sick thing, because a lot of people start to kind of fail and, I don't think truly understand that if you're not taking advantage of what's been given to you, then you're not really embracing the opportunities you have in front of you. So, given this set of and season I'm in, it got to the point for me to where I was like, man, I'm kind of just sick of limiting myself and not taking full advantage of the time I have to work on the podcast, to network, to go out of my way to do things, to embellish this role. Because it's one that ultimately, at the end of the day, can present an opportunity to establish a career. But we're in the early stages of investment, particularly in this lane. Keep it a buck, organizing, again, getting to the part where eventually we want to distribute merch. We want to be able to host other platforms and go on other platforms and do a lot more than just what we're in now. But again, it comes with due time, and that's really what put me in a state of reflection, because as I'm watching other people, listening to other podcasts, observing everything around me, I'm like, man, I am selling myself short. And I know I'm working hard, but at the same time, I'm understanding too, like, man, I'm not really taking the time to take the time.
Yeah.
So knowing that I could be doing more, it put like a fire under my butt. Like, acknowledge how you feel, because it's valid, but don't live in any sort of negative feeling or adversity. Embrace the challenge and continue to move forward with it, because what you're going to end up doing is running yourself in an ignorant circle. You're going to let the ADHD take over, and you're going to try to purposely hit these goals, and you get lost in the sauce trying to do everything else. You don't hit your goal, and then you're looking at yourself like, what am I doing? That's why I was telling you the other day when we were talking via text, this is something that I have to see on a board. I have to see numbers. I have to see measurements. I have to see goals. I have to see deadlines. I have to see time. I have to see how things are tracked. You know what I'm saying? You have to see where your heart truly lies and what your actions and how they align with that. I think one of the biggest things is we talk about investing in getting a studio for our collective and moving into a space. And I think that is a phenomenal idea. But I think now what we do with that, and after we've been talking about it for so long, is starting a fund, a mutual fund between our collective and our group, and investing money into that and tracking it. Even if it's $1 you're giving every day, or you're giving $5 every 2 weeks, it shows that we're actively doing something. We're doing a traceable action that we can measure and record. It's different whenever you say these things, whenever you have this strong sense of camaraderie and everybody's in alignment with each other. But let's start actually tracking and measuring what we're doing and how we're moving, and have it down on paper and have it in front of everybody. Because as much as we put out and as much as we do, we're shooting a lot, but are we shooting on target, and are we tracking how we're shooting? And I don't mean literally like with the camera or anything. I just mean in general with our goals and what we want to accomplish. We can't really, we can't be wishfully thinking or kind of hoping on a star that this all comes together. We have to have metrics, and when we meet our criteria to where we can, hey, we've gone to this point, we can be grateful for this. Now let's establish the next goal and work there. I think 4-year plans and the ideas of them are cool, but I think what the issue is that is you don't know what will happen in 2 years, let alone 4. So you have to be able to track in intermediate periods. So that was on my mind, long story short. That was on my mind this entire week. And as I was driving over here after my workout, it hit me like a wave. It was weird. That's what I was telling you when I walked in. It just hit me like, man, what am I doing? I feel like I could turn it up another notch. I could truly pull back on my personal social medias. Focus on keep it a buck social medias. Still be active, still repost everybody, the brand and everything we're doing. But pull back on my own personal stuff. Focus on what I want to establish as my brand, and kind of cut myself off from anything that doesn't align with, again, my career, my faith, my family, friends, and my health. If you're not really aligned within those 4 areas, I don't need to be investing into it, because it's not going to give me any long-term fulfillment. And I just think I'm blessed to be in a position to be able to focus on those 4 things. So again, it's a big period of reflection. That's kind of where I wanted to be at today with everything we were talking about. It's not really a word or a topic. It's more so a reflection and a period of being grateful for how we've gone to this point, and how we've just stayed consistent in meeting the marks and kind of keeping ourselves to the goal and to the vision, and sticking to it. It's the tip of the iceberg, but the further you go down the iceberg and you get into the water, the bigger it expands and the more it becomes. So, I'm grateful, and it just presents so many things for us to really take advantage of. Suffice to say, what you got cooking on the track today? I've been going first a lot, man. You know what I'm saying? I need to see what you got in your bag.
Man, I'm not even sure, to be honest, because the topic is so everywhere.
Absolutely, but that's the
So,
point of it. You know what I'm saying? You got to put yourself in a. My song, to be honest, is. We'll get to that. I don't want to say too much about it right now. It's. I don't know. Maybe I could play mine.
yeah, I would do it because I'm still thinking. Maybe that'll
Wow.
help. Well, because
Wow.
it's like I said, it's just everywhere for me. So it's
No,
like,
I get that, but again, you don't have to
oh, for sure. I mean,
limit yourself. Cam, you're one of the people I trust to have a phenomenal and enjoyable music taste, dog. You know what I'm saying? I rely on you and your provision when it comes to providing a great choice.
yeah.
We're gonna catch up into some new music as we go on throughout the podcast, but you'll see if you look. I'll put this disclaimer out by saying this probably came out about 3 or 4 years ago, and I stumbled upon it. I want to say somebody showed me this, but I really don't remember if I stumbled upon it or somebody. Maybe I had a conversation because I heard a song from this artist, and I started showing it to my friends, and me and my friends just dove into his. At the time, this was his only major release he had, but he has about 3 albums out right now. But it's his first. It's his first body of work, man. His first body of work that it's just one of them. It's just one of them ones. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You've ever heard an album, and no matter what period of time you listen to it, how long it's been, you can listen to the whole thing through and through, and it holds a resonance within you. This song in particular is one of my easiest listens. It's one of my favorite listens. It's something that is, bro. I mean, look, it kind of puts me in a state of like. You ever like floated before?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You ever you seen I forget, it's like a meme or something where homeboy is like when you put on a song listen and he's just like midair just hitting this off lane in his bed. Yeah, that's the Arthur meme.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
bully,
Yeah.
the homeboy, he puts the music on his head and
Yeah.
he's like, "What is this?"
Yeah.
And they play and he starts having like the LSD psychedelic trip.
Yeah.
That's how I feel when I listen to something like this. So, suffice to say, the song I picked for today is it's called Calvin's Joint. It's by an artist by the name of Mac Ayers off the album Drive Slow. And let me tell you, just it's yeah, man. Calvin's Joint is again that album is probably one of the easiest listens you over here. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's one of my favorite, especially when the weather starts getting a little cooler.
I see that.
You throw on a coat and you throw on Drive Slow by Mac Ayers, and you may find yourself in front of your ex's house or in Alaska. Listen to your own discretion. So, again, the reason I played that one is more so just because of the state of reflection I feel like I've been in a state of just reminiscing on kind of where I've been at and where we go from here. I think the fact that recently, we celebrated 100 subs on the channel. Now, I thank you guys a lot for that, because if it wasn't for y'all, then I wouldn't be in a position to do that. Obviously, made content, stopped making content, started making content again, stopped making content, and then just kind of flatlined for a bit. I don't know what I wanted to do or where I wanted to be, because there's a lot of thoughts that go on my head in terms of how I can deliver creative content, because at times I feel like I'm a genius, and other times I feel like I have no idea what I'm doing. And I don't know if that's more so from a place of overthinking or from not being able to put my thoughts sometimes down on paper and establish a solid plan of action for them, which is why maybe that's my OCD, ADHD, call it whatever you want. But that's why I have the need to feel like I need to track my progress. I have to see where I've been at, what I've done, keep track of organizing everything, make sure I'm hitting the goals, make sure I'm able, again, to say, hey, if this is my period and my goal for the week with what I'm doing, I've established the fact that I want to drop 5 clips for the channel, get 1 video out per week, and deliver basically everything I'm supposed to, right?
Yeah.
And essentially within that, make sure that after all that is done, bro, I can genuinely reward myself. Not, and it doesn't have to be anything that people would see as, like, it could be any form of, like, again, you work hard, you hit your goals, so now you can enjoy some gaming, right? Or you can hang out with your friends, right? Once you've taken care of your business, you can then enjoy kind of the luxuries of what you're able to do within life. Because, hanging out with your people is a luxury, right?
Yeah.
Hanging out with your loved ones is a luxury. being able to game is a luxury, and especially in what we do because we don't ever really have the time for it, and it kind of sucks because again, I grew up a gamer,
Yeah, same.
true heart and passion for it,
Yeah.
and the fact that as we go on and we're doing the things we're doing, and I lose the capability of gaming, I don't really see it more as a loss. I just see it as something that okay, when I do enjoy it, it has to be on the back end of when I'm
Yeah. It'll always be there too.
exactly.
I think like that.
You're just taking advantage of what you
Yeah.
got. If you have the time to work,
Yeah.
then work.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Don't run from it. Run to it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? My man Juice WRLD said, we're not the ones running away. We're the ones running up. So I think in that mindset, you kind of just have to be grateful. And especially, like, again, we hit 100. And then when we hit 100, we got to 104 that same day. And I thought I just hit 100. And then people, like, I think we had 4 or 5 more that jumped in and followed us. And I shed, like, tears of joy. Wasn't mad at it. It was like that was bliss in that moment. It just felt like a lot of the hard work and a lot of stuff I had put myself through was invalid in terms of how it made me feel. It showed me that even with the investment we've made so far, there is truly an opportunity for this to expand and to continuously grow. That's why, you have to sit back and take a 360 view of this, because if you don't, you'll get lost in the sauce. You got to go around that block sometimes. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Kind of realize perfect examples yesterday or Wednesday for you guys at that event. You're meeting these people, you're seeing people you've already made connections with. Like, this is a big deal, and now you're understanding from a 360 view. Damn, we've done a pod with them, we've linked up with them, we have connections with them. Now I'm getting to meet them, and I'm spending time with them, and I'm establishing all these things. And then you really sit there and you go around this neighborhood you've built of connections, of relationships, of products. And you're like, dog, I've basically built like I've built a small neighborhood with all the connections I've made. Now, how can I expand this into, something that's bigger and something that's a lot more diverse, something that brings multiple characters to the table and allows us to have our hand in multiple things. And again, that's just taking kind of reflection into what you've done and the progress you've made. So it's a period of being grateful, bro. It's really a period of just sitting here and being able to be thankful. I mean, I can't tell you the amount of time and thought this week that I put into just being happy, being like deep in thought without getting sentimental, but just like I said, bro, enjoying everything that we've been doing. So, I'm happy to be here. I genuinely am happy to be here in this moment and get another opportunity to pod and to deliver what we do. Brings me to a point, because I don't know if you saw it this week, and the only reason it was brought to my attention was because it was put on my timeline. Jamie Foxx, one of the greatest entertainers of our generation in all time, he posted a story and he said, just because they got a podcast, don't make them a philosopher.
That's true.
Just because they got a loud mouth, don't make them the voice of the people. What do you think is the difference between podcasts and what they deliver and like actually getting something from them? Like, what's the point of a pod to you?
For me, I mean, I think a podcast just gives people a platform to really elaborate on more topics, as in, it could be sports related, gaming related, entrepreneur related, etc. More topics that they would more formally discuss, elongated form of content. And then there's also podcasters where they're already popular for something else, and they're just like, especially now, because I mean, when Carlos wanted to start a podcast, it wasn't super popular like it is now. Like, everybody has a podcast now, and I feel like a lot of famous people just do it because it's like what you can do, and they know they know you're gonna get an audience because of what they did prior, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So they just do a podcast, whatever. For me, obviously, I've seen that with people in the past. I think it's an evolution. I think it's the new wave of content. Like, the Nelk Boys started out doing pranks. Now they have, in my opinion, they're giving Joe Rogan a run for his money in #1 podcast with the guests they've been getting. I mean, they hit it on Spotify, but with the guests they've been bringing in, things like that.
Yeah.
So you have that, and their podcast is really good. I think they do a really good job of spreading the who they interview on there. Then you also have Buzzing with the Boys, for example, which was like the first. That and the Pat McAfee show, which is essentially a podcast, but it is like a TV show.
Yeah.
Those were like the first couple of podcasts that were.
I'll ask you, because I haven't really paid too much attention to The first podcast you did? No, Full Send.
Shit, that's out. You missing out.
What do you think is the point of their podcast? Like, what purpose do they serve?
I think their purpose is to show that they can get whoever on, and they're also still like they're like to me the Noke Boys are like Mr. Beast for YouTube. Like they're like goated on YouTube. Like they pushed you, especially the Noke Boys. Essentially, they're like the first channel to really push like YouTube, like push the narrative of like what you can post, what you can and can't do.
They got Steve will do it, but right up out of there, I'll tell you what.
He got hoed though. Like that's a whole nother story. That's pretty flagrant, honestly. But they're just the first people to do that. Then that podcast, they were like, let's start a podcast, and their goal when they started the podcast was to be the number one podcast, and the foundation is laid well. They just have conversations with people, and then you can obviously tell when they have certain guests on. When they had Elon Musk on, they're listening for 3 hours. They're just listening, consuming, because they're also very good business dudes.
Yeah.
Like regardless of their content, if you're a fan of them or not, you can't deny how smart they are when it comes to business.
Yeah.
Starting alcohol, talking about Happy Dad, their Full Send merch. They're also people that talk about all the time creating their own their own platform, because they always talk about how YouTube censors everything. They've always talked about making their own platform, posting whatever they want. I mean, they did the podcast with Donald Trump. YouTube took it down, but they have their own website and they post it on YouTube. So they've always been like pioneers of doing that. So their podcast, in my opinion, is like probably, in my opinion, for what I listen to, it's probably top 3. Nope, it's just undeniable the guests they get. It's not even close. Like the level of the guests they pump out. I mean, if you go, like, I'm gonna just give you an example. If I like go to their YouTube and I just like read you like the last 5 guests, you're just gonna be like, it's ridiculous. I mean, they got an interview with Cole Bennett, and he doesn't do a whole lot of interviews. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I saw that because they posted a clip about how he was talking to Kanye about the YNW Melly song Mixed Personalities and the music video they had shot for that.
Like they had Mr. Beast on yesterday.
I saw that. That's been getting a lot of clips.
They had like their podcast is the one that blew up. Basically, like the Andrew Tate clip that went viral was from their podcast.
It was, wasn't it?
Yeah, so they had like the Cole Bennett, the Nav. They had Cole Bennett, Nav, Luke Bryan, the owners of Bored Ape, Elon Musk, Andrew Tate, DaBaby, Mark Cuban. Like no other podcast besides Rogan is getting those type of level guests. But the thing is with them is so cool is they all started out kind of how we were as creators on YouTube, and they're able to do this. That's why I look up to them so much and like actually care about their podcast, because there's people like that. Then you have people that, like I said, going back to the athletes, you have Will Compton, who was like a pioneer of, the athlete. Him and Pat McAfee are like the pioneer of athletes, like going into content. Now you got a lot of podcasts. You got like All the Smoke, I Am Athlete, Pivot, JJ Redick's podcast. I heard the Kelsey brothers have podcasts. So all these athletes are making podcasts.
Draymond Green has a podcast.
Draymond Green has one. So all these athletes are making podcasts. So it's like
that. You bring up an interesting point. What sets the parameters for what's a good podcast, or what makes a Because you like don't make them a philosopher just because they got a pod. Like
I feel like it just depends, because I mean, like that's why I love the podcast I listen to. I got all kinds of spectrums. I mean, I got that. I got the Full Send one where I want to hear these high level A-list S-tier celebrities talk. I have Bussin' with the Boys, which is more like if you played football, it's just locker room talk, boys chopping it up, but they're also having high level people in the NFL and in other sports and things like that.
Absolutely.
The Pivot is phenomenal. It's like a really good show, especially for a minority perspective. They just really give game on there, really talk things the right way. I'm Athlete, same type of deal. $1 million worth of game, another really good podcast.
Yeah, $1 million. That's shout out Gilly and Wallow.
When it comes to
them boys are crazy.
Yeah, their podcast is
good.
They are
pioneering hip hop rap scene podcasts. It's them. No Jumper does a pretty good job.
No Jumper. I don't really watch him anymore.
Adam 22?
No, not really. Just because I mean,
he was. I credit.
He was cool back in the day.
I credit him for breaking in a lot of the underground scene of hip hop and giving them a platform and allowing them, because he Say Cheese doesn't really have a podcast. They more so do like interviews with people, but Adam there's a big rapper I'm a fan of. He passed away in 2020. His name was Mo3. And Adam was like one of the bigger platforms that gave Mo3 a platform to come on his show and talk to him about like his
I do give him that credit for that, because he's had like all the
Draco the Ruler. There's a lot of people who Adam 22 has brought on to really give him an opportunity to talk. So that's why I like appreciate what he's done in terms of podcasting. But that's the reason I ask it, because you think about it, like you wouldn't consider us a self-help podcast, right?
I would say more in that lane, but I definitely wouldn't consider it, because I mean, I think about Mike. Like his podcast isn't really self-help. He is an artist that kind of was transcending in that way.
Yeah,
And he's had the thing was, I didn't even know Mike made music. When I was watching his podcast, I was like, damn, he had Stroman on, Jared Goff, Travis Kelce.
You found out about his podcast before his music?
Yes.
You never knew about Mike Stud?
Yeah, but I didn't know that was him for some reason because he like rebranded and stuff.
Yeah. And he didn't have, he didn't have the face.
Yeah. He just it was different.
Yeah,
So and then like I was listening to the podcast and I was like, damn, he's having all these guests. Oh, and then when he did Bought Online with Johnny, which was like a mini podcast series with Johnny, and that's really when I got into it because like Johnny Manziel was just vulnerable on it, things like that. And then you got Hex, like Hex has the Eavesdrop podcast, which is like the best podcast in esports, hands down. Like he has every single person that's a pioneer esport or someone that's involved in esport on his podcast, and he's like providing and that's the thing. I love it because you just have all this form of content. For me, rotational wise. In my opinion, my favorite podcast right now is for sure Raw Talk with Bradley Martin. He is the best interviewer, and he gets the realest with all his guests. He's in depth.
Bradley Martin. What was it called again?
Raw Talk.
Raw Talk.
Bradley Martin. That podcast, you would like it. That podcast is really, really good. He has really good guests on. Like he had Arnold Schwarzenegger's son on. He has like a lot of YouTube personalities, but I think the podcast that did it for me, and Bradley's always been a vulnerable guy, was a podcast he did with ex-porn star Lana Rhodes. And she kind of like explained like everything and like the questions he's asking and like being vulnerable with her and stuff like that. So once I like heard him really talk like that, and he's a full-time host, a co-host on the Full Sin podcast.
Really?
Yeah. So he was on the Cole Bennett episode, and he's been on the last couple.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
okay.
So for me, once I heard like his podcast, I was like, for me that was like the best from like a whole structural standpoint. Obviously, you have your sports shows and stuff like that.
So then, okay, lay it on me. Give me your.
I do so.
Let's do it like we did. Let's do it like we did the drinks.
Yeah. So
give me your top 3 rotationals.
So
make it 5. I'll give you a free.
I'll just give you what I listen to, honestly.
No, you gotta give me 5. You can't because you're gonna start throwing everybody in their mama's name in there.
No, I'm not. So
I'm gonna count 5.
So right now, dude, I would say okay. I'm gonna put 2 and 1 because they are technically. The Optic podcast and the Eavesdrop, they're different. Optic podcast is the Optic, like, it's like what I want to do when we get bigger.
Hex is Optic, right?
Yeah, like he owns Optic. But it's what I want to do when I get bigger. So the Optic podcast, the breakdown is a roundtable of people on Optic, and it's weekly. So, but it's reoccurring guests. So it's not always Hex on it. It's not always Scump on it. It's like it's different people from Optic on it weekly. So I like that podcast because they do current events and esports, and they just kind of chop it up. It's kind of just chilling. And then obviously I'm gonna throw the Eavesdrop in with that because I mean to me they're like the same thing. But the Eavesdrop is more it's Hex one-on-one with his guest, and it's normally a big personality in esports or owner. And then so those 2, I'll put that in 1 because those are like just very good. And it's if you aren't into gaming, it's just a really good way to like learn about it. Mm-hmm. I'd probably also put in Pivot. I was a fan of I Am Athlete, and I still watch I Am Athlete. The episode Reggie Bush they just dropped was really, really good.
Yeah.
So it kind of depends on I Am Athlete and Pivot. Like they both have really good guests on. I prefer Pivot because I think it's perfect, bro. You got Ryan Clark, who's a professional. He's been doing TV forever. Then you got Channing Crowder, who was a fool. Like he asks like funny questions, always talking about sex, stuff like that. And you got
Fred Jackson.
Fred Taylor. Fred Taylor, who was
he was a running back, right?
Yeah, for the Jaguars.
Yeah.
He should be in the Hall of Fame, but
he played back in the gap.
Like in the 90s, 90s and 2000s, early 2000s. But
he played with Byron, didn't he? Leftwich.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But he's one of those dudes like that's the OG. He's gonna give it to you straight. Really cool dude.
Yeah, he's definitely the most raw on that podcast.
Yeah, he's the most raw on there for sure. And then so after that, Full Sin. Their guests are ridiculous. Like you just can't deny it. Like they have the best guests on, regardless if you like them or not. You would tune in because of who they're gonna get on. Like they had a podcast with Elon Musk. Like how many?
Yeah, I remember that.
You know what I'm saying? Like, how many of those do you see?
Yeah,
even the Donald Trump podcast, like stuff like that. It's just like that's crazy. I mean, they even said they're trying to get Drake and Connor and Kim Kardashian, and I'm pretty sure they can.
They'll get. I guarantee they could get 1 to maybe 2 of those 3.
Yeah, I mean they already got Caitlyn or Bruce Jenner or Caitlyn.
And they did, yeah.
Yeah, and they already had once they got Elon Musk on there, they can get anybody. He's the richest man in the world.
I mean, I think that once they got a former president on there, that's
exactly.
You know what I'm saying? That's
so
tough.
So them for sure. And then
you at 3, big dog. You done really said 5, but I'm letting you slide.
Raw Talk for sure.
Okay.
That boy Bradley, really big inspiration for me. a podcast you should listen to this weekend. I'll send it to you, but it was him, the owner of Gymshark, and the owner of Alpha Elite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Christian Guzman.
Yeah, it was them three, and it's basically Bradley. They're all in the same lane, all have gyms and stuff like that, and it's just a really great podcast for like a business structural stand. It's really good. So listen to that when you get a chance. So obviously Raw Talk. So I'm at 4, and then, bro, probably busting with the boys, really, because it's like it's hilarious to me. Like it's football content, but they have great guests.
Yeah.
And it's like I like their structure, bro. Like they add different stuff. Like they have their tier talk, they have their no free shout out of the week. So example of that would be like when you go into the bathroom and you have like a piece of, or you have like a, the roll of toothpaste and you got that little bit in there and you get it out. They say like stuff like that. Like that's my no free shout out of the week. Or like when you're turning right and the light's yellow, but the car in front of you goes so you can go, like stuff like that.
Yeah.
So they have like little segments like that. Like, and it's like, damn, like that's just conversations you have with the boys and like chopping it up. Then they do like, tier talks of like, they did like we did the other day, like with chicken places, or like they had like sandwich places.
Yeah,
like they were talking, they were like pot bellies and sleeper, like stuff like that. So I like that kind of content, and I just, it's really cool. Like there's setups on a bus in Nashville that they, now they're towing it around the country and going to games and stuff. And it's really cool because I mean the boy Will Compton, like he wasn't the best in the NFL. He was, he
was a linebacker.
Yeah, he's a linebacker. He started a couple of seasons. He's mainly a special teams guy. Played 10 years, and he's like one of the first people to really transition into this content and like is setting like
it really felt seamless. It felt seamlessly.
Yeah, he's like laying down the foundation, and it's like cool to like follow because it's kind of like essentially for us, like we stopped playing sports. Obviously, we're in the league and we're not financially ahead like they are. Like they can go buy a bus and buy all that equipment off rip because they have the funds. But,
because they had the contract.
Exactly.
And everything. Yeah, absolutely.
But just
they
seeing
got that NFL
like,
money. I'll tell you what, boy.
But just seeing like that, those are my favorite. Like when those podcasts drop, and those are like my rotation, and then I try to dabble in other stuff if I have the time. And that's if I catch up on everybody else. But those are my rotation, and like I feel like I get a variety of everything. So
when we talk about podcasts, I could be a little biased. I'm not gonna lie. It's just the nature of the game, obviously, because what you listen to is what you resonate with.
For sure.
So I'm gonna give you my 5, just plain and simple. Rory and Mal, new Rory and Mal. I love their energy. They're basically 2 guys who both have strong backgrounds in the music industry. One guy, Mal, is the brother of Biggs, who started Rockefeller with Jay-Z. So they grew up with Jay-Z in the Marcy Projects in Brooklyn, and he's been around and in the music industry for a period of time. Rory, in the same instance, used to be an executive for Def Jam, worked in multiple industries. They were co-hosts originally on the Joe Budden podcast. And
which is one of my favorite podcasts ever.
They had a big falling out.
Yeah.
And that turned into Rory and Mal going their own way, Joe Budden going their own way. Yeah. But Rory and Mal's podcast, to me, they interview some of like the best. They don't, and it's not strictly music. It's they interviewed a girl who has her own Bible-based podcast where she talks a lot about like real and transparent subjects.
Yeah.
And it doesn't feel like it's all like cooted and queued up, but they interviewed her and it felt like a real transparent conversation. So they interview all these people. They got music artists on there. They got personalities on there. They talk to doctors for mental health and stuff like that. They brought in a lot of clientele, and they bounce like off each other really well. They know each other. They're good friends. You could tell the chemistry is there, and they've been in that position before. So obviously the new Rory and Mal podcast. We got You Should Know podcast. I listen to that a lot. The clips be killing me, so I started getting into them. And Peyton's content just kills me, man.
Yeah,
it's phenomenal, bro. Once I started listening to it a lot more, I'm genuinely a fan. Like I am 110% a fan. So it's pretty cool because just seeing how he has his own studio and everything within that, and how he's just a self-starter and kind of making everything what it is, bro. Listening to his content, him and his homeboy are very lighthearted, very easygoing. They always, I feel like, bring a lot of flavor to each conversation. And, it has a very comedic relief sound to it. Like, it's something that's, again, it's such an easy listen, and it's a good listen. I feel every episode has, been, like I said, it's just phenomenal, bro. Again, and it's one of the things to where I guess I enjoy it more to listen to because of the fact, we came up with him.
Yeah, for
and,
sure.
And you know, he's had a platform now to where he's had a couple of guests, but on top of that, like the content he's making is actually good.
Yeah.
You know, and you respect the work because you know what it takes to put into them.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
fact that it's that
absolutely.
quality, you're like,
Yeah.
man, this is phenomenal, bro.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the You Should Know podcast, shout out to that boy Peyton, man, killing it. We got the Opinionated podcast.
Oh wow, thank you.
I know that was a shameless plug, and that's not even shameless, bro. I think the way y'all interview and bring on people, and I've complimented you guys on this since y'all started, man. Y'all brought in a plethora of talent, a plethora of personalities, a plethora of creators, and I think it's underappreciated that you guys really give a spotlight to a lot of different folks. It's not just one person in one lane or this person in this lane. You guys
it's
talked to
literally
the
everybody.
Wavy Movement LLC. You've talked to Miss Gabby who works for the Cavs. You talked to my boy Germ. You talked to Josh. You've talked to the gentleman you just released the episode for today. Go watch that. That is with
Boy, Kyle Box shots. I think his last name was hard to pronounce.
I'm not even gonna.
Box
I'm not
shots.
even gonna.
I think it's box shots.
He said it on the pod, bro.
My bad,
and
Kyle.
He said it on the pod, bro. I was like, if I start saying that, I might start speaking hieroglyphics, bro. I'm gonna let you handle that. But that podcast was, I got into it, and I still have to finish it, man. But just the energy and the tone you and Carlos come off with, bro. You and Carlos have been potted long enough to. One of the biggest things I enjoy with podcasts is people who share really good chemistry with each other, and when they're able to bounce back and forth and kind of have the ebbs and flows of the conversation, and you can tell they don't have a step missed, it's nice. It doesn't feel forced. So it's nice to see in those situations and in those, in those episodes how, again, you guys just carry it, bro. Y'all really do a phenomenal job of getting to know this person and allowing us within that small hour to hour and a half to really get to understand these people. So again, like I said, y'all really made me get into podcasting because I was into it, but I didn't start. Bro, honestly, I didn't start listening to podcasts, so I started listening to y'all's podcast, which is a crazy thing to think because now I'm beginning to understand and listen to a lot more than just that.
Yeah, for me, which I mean, we obviously love music a lot, and I still obviously listen to it lately. I mean,
you should. I mean, it's kind of what we do
for sure. But for me, like while working and stuff, it's just too much sometimes. Like, you know what I mean? Like you really like listen to a song and like, all right, too much going on.
Too much going on.
Like
it's just not realistic.
Like with podcasts, I started liking because it was like more white noise. Essentially,
I
like
hate it because I feel like
listening.
I gotta pay attention. I really care
really?
when
but that's the thing. I feel like I consume it, at least for me. I consume it really well. And I don't know. The thing is, if I'm not working out or driving or hanging out with somebody, or like, in a group event or we're doing whatever, outside catching vibes on the water. If I'm not doing stuff like that, then I'm not really, unless I'm just chilling at home. And this is another thing too with editing. Like I can't like just listen to music because obviously, unless it's photos.
I do lo-fi with all that stuff, bro, because I want to hear the audio, how everything sounds, how everything will play with sound. I feel that. It's hard for me to listen to podcasts or music when I'm doing
Yeah, exactly, because you gotta just hear everything.
Oh, bro, you want to be completely immersed in what you're doing.
But for me, dude, like, I just been listening to podcasts lately a lot.
Yeah.
Like you said, and it's mainly because kind of the direction I'm trying to take opinionated with everybody, and it just hearing other people that are in a similar lane as you, or they were at one point, and then they obviously got to where they wanted to be. I'm just like constantly learning.
Yeah.
Like for me, I'd rather like learn like that. The boy Shiloh actually asked me today. He's like, "Cam, are you PR trains?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Have you been to PR trains?" And I was like, "No." I was like, "I love to be PR trained. Like, how do you do that?" And he's like, "Oh," he's like, "I'm surprised." He's like, "I thought you were." And I was like, "Really?" He's like, "Yeah." He's like, if you ever get PR trains, you'll talk to somebody that's been PR trained, and you'll know.
Yeah,
like you'll know that they've been PR trained. So when he told me that, I was like, "Damn, all right." Like,
marketability, man.
Like,
it's crazy.
I was just like, I was like, I guess it's because like the way I articulate things and deliver, and
it's all about how you deliver. And
even
how you
today at work,
bro.
They were like, crazy question. They were like, if you wanted to start a pod, we do like these group meetings every Thursday or Friday.
If you guys wanted to start a podcast, what would you talk about?
So
little do you know.
So I'd been dugging into the last few Fridays, so I've been busy.
I have 2 of them.
Yeah. So they were like, and I was just like, they were like, have you ever done a podcast, or if you ever started one, what would you call it? I was like, well, I actually have a media company called Opinionated Media, and we do podcasts, all kinds of stuff. I was like, mainly start off as a sports podcast, started interviewing entrepreneurs, whatever. And they were like, damn, really? They're like, you do have a podcasting voice. And I've gotten that more than once, so they know how I sound on that mic, real crispy. Wait till them shirts.
I'm glad you completely adjusted your tone to sound like you were one of them.
Yeah, sound good.
You're listening to DJ Jazzy Smooth on 87.9 The Love.
You know what I'm saying?
Tonight we got something fiery on this Slow Jam Sunday.
Nah, but
I want every one of you sly gents out there to call your ladies and let them know how you're feeling. We got Usher Burn coming on the radio next on Sunday night. Slow jams.
you're a fool.
I've been telling you, bro, but I think the deliverance of how you guys
Yeah.
package it all together, man, is really that's what made me listen to podcasts. That and then my last two, $1 million worth of game because
Fire.
the environment they've given to
That's a
just,
really good
bro.
podcast. And they I like how they're actually honest with like people.
Oh, bro, Wallow made me want to like completely embrace just the hustle part of doing what you're doing in this lifetime. Like just spitting it straight and taking it for what it is. Like his energy is always so authentic. And then Gilly's like the comedic relief that's also like, look, play around if you want to, but you gonna find out real
Especially
quick.
when he be talking, when he be saying,
bro.
what he be saying about basketball?
Oh yeah.
He be saying he be like,
Bro, you see that?
He be using like NBA names with his name.
Yeah. He said Gillian Bede.
Yeah.
He said Gilly Antetokounmpo or
Yeah.
something like that. I'm like, bro, who do you think? Have you seen that clip of him where he's hooping and he comes up, does a hezzy cross, and then shoots a three, and he's like, step up, motherfucker.
I remember watching like that Ball is Life posted him one time.
Yeah, bro, because of
he
that
was like
clip.
low-key going crazy.
Bro, I'm telling
I
you,
was
Gilly,
like, what the hell?
Gilly is like sly, bro, and it's really because he's a Philly dude. Gilly is nasty. But $1 million worth of game because generally what they give to you is $1 million worth of game. And their podcasts with Dirk and Dolph were some of my favorites. I think Dolph was hands down my favorite because there was so much game going on, bro. Like, I think my head expanded. Just like I had overflow, like I had sensory overflow from listening to how real and honest that conversation was. Lastly, this is gonna be a little weird, but I don't care. The Let's Read podcast. Don't know if you know what the Let's Read podcast is, but it's ran. I don't know the gentleman's name who actually runs it because he, like I said, he doesn't, he doesn't promote himself really at all. Like he is really under the shadows and under the covers. I'm not gonna lie to you, bro. Like he tells horror stories. People submit horror stories via Reddit or via Gmail, and then he narrates them. Have you seen Mr. Ballin?
No, Carl's was telling me about this one dude who like talks about like he does like horror stories or like
Mr. Ballin's pretty popular.
He like blew up though recently.
Mr. Ballin is probably
I think
who
that
he's
might be
talking
him. And he like does like serial killers and he like does like
serial killers, missing 411s.
stuff like that.
Yeah, so Mr. Ballin just popped off recently. He has his own podcast where he talks about this stuff. But Let's Read, man. I was listening to him back when actually I was in college. It's kind of, I actually may need to go seek like psychiatric help for this, but I was like falling asleep to like some horror stories. Like I should have been listening to the Lord's music and I was listening to the story about how somebody got offed in the woods in Wyoming. It was kind of sick, I'm not gonna lie to you. Yeah. But the storytelling and the narration aspect of it is so vivid. It's like having somebody read you a book, but instead of a child's fairy tale, it's actually something that's kind of disturbing. But I just like his narration, his voice style. He carries himself very well. He's telling these stories and you could feel them. And he's been running this podcast for a while. So he does this on YouTube and he has a podcast of it. So I genuinely, bro, that's one of the earliest podcasts like I started listening to. I was just in that. And then I started listening to, like I said, when you guys first started putting out Opinionated, I was just a big fan. And I started listening to y'all and then I was like, oh, No Jumper has a podcast. And oh God, there's $1 million worth of game. And oh my God, there's, you know what I'm saying? And then, I found out Peyton does podcast and I started listening to his stuff because y'all interviewed him. And I was like, bro, there's so much stuff going on.
Yeah, and that's the cool, and kind of going back to your question previously.
Yeah. What makes a podcast like to you? Like what makes our podcast different? Because, we wouldn't consider ourselves self-help, but what makes us different in terms of, I don't think we're philosophers by any means, bro. I think we talk about real experiences and how we deal with them, but at the same time, it's...
I just think, I think like for us, the podcast is very, because I mean, when we talked in the parking lot, I've always kind of like, big inspiration from Mike, but always kind of wanted to have that podcast where I could
the 1K podcast
actually talk about dude, that's another that I have to throw that in a list. It's in there. I don't care if I have more than 5. I consume it more than a lot of stuff. So when
why'd you say it like that?
I don't know.
I consume it more than a lot of stuff.
I meant like TV and shows and whatnot.
That didn't sound right.
But anyways,
what you be consuming, Cam?
Y&K and Y&K Premium.
Nah, what you be consuming?
Be consuming You know what I'm saying? Shall consume him by Cayman. That's the new intro.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
did.
yeah. I really do this podcasting, bro. Like these are 3 years of reps.
Oh my God.
Like you know what I'm saying? That was just easy. You know what I'm
He
saying? Like
said,
that's
shut
just
up. He
how I
said,
be.
yeah, okay. Okay, boy. So you ain't gonna box
Yeah,
me.
you're
You
not
know what
gonna
I'm
get
saying?
me. You're not gonna
catch
get
me slipping. You seen that RDC skit they be talking about? It said when they try to catch you slip on a podcast interview.
Oh yeah,
And he's like,
yeah.
so how do you feel about LGBTQ? Yeah, the rainbow is an amazing array of colors,
Yeah.
and I think it presents great representation for everybody. Okay. And what about you? How do you feel about him saying that? And we got him, folks. Have a good. He's like, damn it! I thought I told you to
For
say
sure.
something, bro.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that's. I'll tell you what. I think that definitely does make a good podcast. If you want to set a parameter, it's how you can carry a conversation.
For sure. And I think honestly, it helps so much with this other stuff like interviewing, like for jobs.
Networking is probably basis.
Networking, being able to talk to people and having those conversations, just carrying it, being able to flow. But dude, I don't know. The podcasting thing is such a cheat code for some people. Like some people just have it easy. Like they are,
Because they find their niche, bro, and that's a crazy thing. Once you get in your lane and you,
or they just did something prior. And that's another thing I meant to talk to you about. Like I tell CJ about this all the time and us. When you're starting a podcast organically, at least for us, we're like interviewing like other entrepreneurs and whatnot.
that's what brings a lot of more awareness to you because they repost it, they share it.
Exactly.
But when you do it,
doing it like how we're doing it or how PCT is doing it, and it's
growth.
like your own content,
Yeah, it's organic growth.
It's harder to do it because unless they're meshing with your personality, and obviously you know how the internet is insane now. It's one of those things where like if you didn't do something prior, if you didn't have a crazy business, if you weren't a professional athlete, if you weren't an artist or whatever, then people are gonna go to you. Like if any of these artists start a podcast or any of these, athletes start a podcast when they retire or while they're playing, since they're famous from what they do.
If Drake had a podcast, it'd probably by chance be the biggest podcast.
Exactly,
in the entire world.
It's just easy, and I'm not saying it's because like they didn't do anything. Like obviously they're talented in what they did, but it is a cheat code. Like it's another form of content that's easy to do. They're just talking.
So I think an interesting bar I've heard previously is that a lot of people will use one thing to get access to another thing.
Yeah.
So you see like a lot of these NFL players, right? I'm sure football is their first love, but you see them now. I just read an article today. A defensive tackle from the Chiefs signed to a Kansas City major esports team. He signed with them. McCole Hardman signed with them, and Armani Watts from the Colts is signed with them. And I think that like it's maybe they had these passions as a kid that they never thought they were going to do anything with them, and then they got into playing ball and they have the opportunity in the league, and then now they get an opportunity to professionally game. And I think that concept is pretty dope. Like I said, one of my favorite content creators, bro. Berleezy, I told you about him. I got to meet him at DreamCon, and I've been a fan of his stuff now for a little bit of time. He popped off because he used to do roast. He used to call himself the host with the roast, and he used to do roast over cartoon intros. Kim Possible, Dora the Explorer, Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends. He used to roast cartoon intros. It was hilarious, right? He'd just be burning them. But that notification got him, a lot of people. But what his true passion was gaming. So he took literally that crowd that he made from, roasting intros and talking crap and doing all that. And he was like real big for roasting and converted it over to his gaming channel. And then he got 2 channels with 1 M+ subs on each. And his gaming channel is now the bigger thing. He's a Twitch partner. Him and his whole group are basically Twitch partners. But, he brought everything from doing these roasts and making this content to really bringing him to a spot to where he was really passionate at.
Yeah.
And I think in podcasting, it's the same thing. Why do people pay attention to podcasts? Naturally, it's because of the fact that, you may look at the Nelk Boys and the Nelk Boys were doing their own thing, or they were podcasting for such a long time and they've done other things that have brought acclaim to them. Yeah. Naturally being savvy businessmen, being great investors, being consistent workers. Yeah. And now that's brought people to their attention. Mm-hmm. I think about the No Jumper. I really couldn't tell you what Adam 22 was doing before No Jumper. I really couldn't.
Yeah, no.
But No Jumper was, I feel, that platform for him to blow up. But you don't see that with everybody. Yeah. Again, Bustin' with the Boys, you didn't see that because they were NFL players beforehand, and now that platform has brought them amazing views, amazing content. Like it's their lane. Same thing with I Am Athlete. Same thing with The Pivot. Yeah. Same thing with Mike. Mike was viral for
music.
Yeah.
And he wanted to make content for his fans and talk to them, and that's what it became.
That's what I'm saying. So a lot of these lanes, you guys have the organic podcast grows through the fact that you've networked and the nature of what you guys do, and that's how you're able to bring them now. Because again, you got to think about it. A lot of I was able to bring over a small group of people from when my little YouTube channel was doing what it was doing, and you guys put in a group of people from Opinionated, and now we have this big bucket from everything that's overflowing. And as we continue to drop clips, bring on more guests, expand what we're doing, network with people, all these buckets will eventually. It's like saving change in a piggy bank, right?
Sure. Yeah.
You deposit a penny here, you deposit $1 there, you deposit a nickel there. Over time, that savings is gonna grow. But because you started with nothing compared to, I'm not knocking these guys for their growth in any manner, but these guys that already had a piggy bank that was full, and now they have, hey, look, guys, look over here for what we're doing. Oh, okay, well, I've already poured into this. Well, what you got going over here? People knew who Taylor Lewan was because he's a freaking all-pro left tackle in the National Football League, right?
Yep.
Even Will Compton, he's still a football player making money. So even if he doesn't have maybe the notoriety, he has the allocations and resources.
Easy too. Like when you play for multiple teams, like your fan base will just he's smart, bro. Like
he took advantage of the situation. That's perfect.
He taps into the Tennessee market, the Titans market, Nebraska because he played there. He played for the Raiders last year.
He tapped into the Redskins.
The Redskins.
To the Washington market.
And he just knows what he's doing. He might have not been the best in the league, but from a connection standpoint, he talks about Mike Pistachia and how he was his coach on the Raiders. He was the Raiders interim coach last year, and now Mike Pistachia is the Packers special teams coach. So he was able to go to Green Bay and then get an interview with Aaron Rodgers and all these people. So it's once you get into a market or these people have these lanes, it's easier. But I have a couple questions that kind of stems from this topic. For you, outside of Keep It a Buck, what would be some avenues that you feel like you were going to need? Because, I know one of them, we're just kind of holding off on that. If you want to talk about it, that's up to you. But what are some avenues that you're trying to dive into to expand or, bring people to Keep It a Buck or, use Keep It a Buck to get you somewhere else? What are kind of,
Music's number one.
Yeah.
I've told, I'm not afraid to say that. Music is number one. That's just a blatant. And that's why I'm really happy Cayman's here.
Yeah.
Because he can help to really push and keep consistent with that. Music's number one. Gaming's number two.
Okay.
Maybe fitness at some point, but I feel like
that shit is it's hard to do because it's so
I wouldn't mind making fitness content, but not making it an emphasis of what we're doing. More so a subsidiary.
That shit is just so I'm not gonna say corny or cheesy, but it's just
it's not. I don't think it's corny.
It's so oversaturated.
It is. It's a very.
It's yes, podcasting is oversaturated.
And that's the next point I was gonna make.
But
podcasting is a very
you
oversaturated
can at least
market.
niche it. You can at least be we're a sports podcast, we're a music podcast, we're a health and wellness podcast, we're an e-commerce podcast.
Yeah,
you can do that, but with fitness and stuff, it's one of those things where
it's tough. It's
you know what I mean?
Tough
everyone's posting reels and stuff.
You know what I'm saying? Christian Guzman, I think, was a genius in that aspect because he got on really early,
same
early
Bradley,
with it.
All of them. Summer Rae, she was talking about it on
literally really early with that stuff, and then was able to transform it into the 3D energy drink and Alpha Lead and Alpha Land. He was able to catch on early enough to where he was able to expand into the other avenues of what he wanted to do.
Actually,
but to capitalize on that, what'd he do? YouTube. Boy was posting workout vids and vlogs and stuff, and that's what he used to capitalize into his brand. So music, I think music and gaming for sure would be my biggest two things because I love gaming and by God I love music. God I love music.
And I feel that too.
So,
I'm kind of in the same way. Obviously I love the networking. I love the conversations because sports podcasting, has always been good. I don't want to not do the sports podcast. But
it's just part of our blood.
It's just part of it, right? But for opinionated media, the plan is to grow it to what we talk about, an empire, all that.
Yeah.
I want to have kids or whoever do 54 yards, they do that. Then me and Carlos just do off topics. We interview those people, we have those conversations.
Yeah.
And then for me, I want to do music stuff. I would be down to do fitness stuff. There's one. Oh,
I can dabble in fashion too. Don't even get me started in that. That's a whole
no,
nother
I feel
bag.
that too.
That's a whole nother bag.
Especially lately when I got all in my hats and vintage and stuff, car stuff. Obviously, about that. And then there's one other. It's car.
I'll say music, gaming.
Oh, and gaming. Because the thing is, me and Carlos are not to toot our own horn, but me, Carlos, Austin, all the boys back in the day. Like we were really good. Like we used to play wagers. We used to play like
Yeah, no, catch me on Modern Warfare
We were
2. I'm
cold,
signing
bro.
up again with Major League Gaming,
we were
MLG.
we were
yeah.
really good, and like I wouldn't want to be. I feel like in Hex is a big inspiration for this. I wouldn't want to make. I wouldn't want to be like a pro myself.
Yeah.
I'd obviously want to stream because I just feel like it's just a easy.
I'd rather
Yeah.
stream. I wouldn't make.
But I would stream anything though.
If I had
personally.
an editor, I would do Let's Plays, because the amount of cutaways and gags and stuff I would want to do, I'd have to have editor and After Effects and stuff like that.
Yeah, no.
But streaming is a lot more easier naturally because it's current, it's what's ongoing, and I don't want to say I don't think streaming is hard, but I think it comes a lot more natural because it's in the moment. You don't really have to put too much into other than what you're playing and what you're doing.
For sure.
So, like I said, gaming, music, obviously those are the two biggest things. You could think about other avenues and stuff to get into, but I think even with like with merch, right? Yeah. Merch would be another avenue. If people see our merch and they're like, wow, that's fire. Who is that for? What do they do? What do they like? And then they find us and they're like, oh my God, this podcast is crazy. Subscribe.
Yeah.
Like, that's an avenue we could do with that. But
there's so many ways to get everybody to funnel to another thing.
Exactly.
And that's what I've been telling, like, even you, bro. Like, you make a personal TikTok, like, you just said fashion. You do your music, whatever. You could be doing all this stuff. They don't even know you have Q the Buck. You do all this stuff, then they all come over. That's what CJ's been doing, like, sports highlights. They don't even has Park Car Talks. You funnel these people over, and they all come over to your respective platform. And, like, for me, at least, getting opinionated built up when I can kind of step away and do my own thing, build up my car community. Then I'd be like, oh yeah, by the way, I have a media company.
Oh, by the way, I drive a 2019 Ford Mustang with the turbo upgrade boot.
Thank you very much. Don't downplay it. No.
That's exactly.
Performance Pack 1, Kona Blue. Sheesh. I'm just playing.
No, he's not playing. That's the sick part. Like, he is not playing at all. Like, he's really finna pull out of here tomorrow and be like, like, bro, shut up. Dang.
But no, all in all, I mean, bro, like, dude, I'm trying to think what that other question was.
Well, I was really going to talk to you about that Jamie Foxx quote because we're a young podcast up and coming, and
that's why I asked you that question though.
Yeah,
because it's like,
what's our identity?
Well, you just have to think long term. Because I mean, the thing is, like, realistically, do you want to use this for the?
Absolutely.
Okay. So realistically, how long would you? Obviously, like, if you have like one specific, I'm not gonna say specific goal, but you have like kind of your target, like what you actually want to do. But like, for example, like, we're using a podcast to kind of like get that flow, creative juices going. Obviously, this is super fun, and the exchange of energy and the conversation. But long term, you know what you want to be, what you want to do. Essentially, I'd say an entertainer, a jack of all trades kind of guy. So like, you do podcasts, you have music, you maybe act, you do, whatever, right?
That's another avenue.
So
acting.
Yeah,
like,
I could see that.
I
could see that.
Same.
I'd be talking about my Montana script all the time.
Bro,
or like directing. I kind of want to like become like a.
I could either be a voice actor or actor, bro. I'd be like Leonardo DiCaprio or something. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'd be.
Did you just say Leonardo DiCaprio?
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. Denzel Washington or something.
Oh my God! Just stop it, please. Just stop, please.
You know what I'm saying? LL Rule J. You never know, bro. It just happens. It's the natural ebbs and flows of things, bro. I could mess around and be the next Liam Neeson. You never know. Yeah. It's just part of the game. Robert Downey Jr. So it's like I said, I think I have the personality, and I feel like, and this is not a brag, I feel like I'm a character in a good way. I feel like I bring a lot of energy. I feel like I bring a lot of love and a lot of genuineness. I'm still human. Don't get me wrong. I'm not perfect, and I think I make mistakes. And I'm not. Again, that's why I don't say it in a bodacious way, because I'm no better than the next man. Yeah, but I do feel like me personally, I feel like I understand what I could bring to the table and the good I can do with it. In the bigger picture. So, I mean, it's a lot of opportunities for what we could do. But like I said, that's the reason I asked you, man, because I feel like there's a lot of parameters in the podcast market could be oversaturated, right? Because it's a lot that we do and a lot that we go into naturally concerning, like, hey, this is our podcast and this is why you should listen to it. People are probably seeing like 30,000 podcasts. You know what I'm saying? Because there's a lot of good podcasts out there that even we haven't listened to.
There's a lot of good podcasts, and there's also one of those things. I feel like, it's scary because, like, the thing is, me and Carlos has started. Like, we were ahead of the curve, but like, it was kind of getting popular when we started. So for someone like you to start it later on, and you see like all the people that you might know or whatever start a podcast, and it's like, they do 4 or 5 episodes and it's gone, done forever. Because I mean, Aaron Hernandez, gone forever. Like, it's like that. Like, you know what I mean?
Jesus.
That's the term we'd be using.
Destroy the phone and everything? Like, just gone without a trace?
Just gone forever. Like, people just, they won't do it. Like, they won't, because it's a lot of work, a lot of work that's, laid down the foundation, things like that. So when you were going to start the pod, what was kind of, I guess, not your mindset, but I guess, like, since, what episode is this, like 10 or 11?
This would be episode 12.
Okay, so like, you're in double digits now, right? Most people can't get to double digits, and even most people now, I mean, look at us. Like, I really don't know what the exact number is. I think we just dropped episode 43 of the Off Topic, but we have like damn near 100 pods, because I'm thinking of like all the sports pods and then like 54 yards and
54 yards.
You know what I'm saying? So essentially, I would just give us a rough estimate of 80 to 90 episodes. So when you get like up in those numbers, people know you're consistent and you're doing it. But I guess for you, when you were like going to start a podcast later on, after it's been, like, it's one of those things, like, everyone's a fitness guru, everyone's a podcaster, everyone's like, whatever, photographer, whatever. I guess, like, what was kind of like your mindset about that? Because, like, yes, I know you've, like, in the past have struggled with being consistent with content, regardless of what it is. And I feel like that's because you're talented in multiple areas. But I feel like since you're obviously consistent in this and you want to continue to do this, damn, it's a multi-layered question. I guess, what would be, you said music, but like, what is going to be your main focus along with the pod after this? And then I would say, kind of what was your thought process of like actually doing the podcast and starting it off and going in depth with it?
I'll keep it simple and sweet, bro. When it was the YouTube channel and it was AORU and it was reactions and it was breakdowns and it was music reviews and everything, I have a lot of love and appreciation for those artists. As you can tell, we have a very diverse taste in music. Mm-hmm. What really stuck with me was that I felt like I could be putting out things that people could be reacting to. Mm-hmm. Not from a sense of jealousy or, again, believe me, I was the one reacting to this music because I had a genuine love for it. I enjoyed it. I absolutely 110% still do. But why can't it be me making that quality of music? You know what I'm saying? Working with composers, working with producers, working with live instruments and developing something that's unique, compiling a piece of work together that has, it's going to sound weird, aspects of like Adele in terms of the depth and how complex it is, but something like a blast to where it's a vibe and people can enjoy it because it's an easy listen. A little bit of Larry June with the motivational talk and the adjusting to everything that comes in, but at the same time maybe a little bit of Marvin Gaye with the sensations. And it was a lot of thoughts that went into my head of why can I be multifaceted and embrace this position and do what I want to do and come into this doing, just more than what I'm doing. And so when I started to listen and do these reactions, I was like, there's more. I could be doing that. And that's not, again, it wasn't a slight to anybody or saying I was better than anybody by any means, because I was reviewing artists' music who I like, what I'm saying, what I genuinely enjoy. But it got to a point that was like, I feel like I'm doing something.
You felt like a reporter almost?
And I felt like I was complacent.
Yeah,
I felt like it was the easy thing to do. I wanted to produce content, but I took the easier. It's not hard to edit a reaction video. It's not hard to shoot a reaction video.
And even for us, like, I do like reaction.
But they're a freaker to put out because of copyright.
Yeah.
So it's like you do the easiest work, but it's the hardest process to go through.
Yeah.
Because you still can't get monetized for it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then even if YouTube decides they want to do what they do,
they're getting a little better though, at least for us.
Well, they have to.
They're gonna sports. I feel like sports stuff's different, but
yeah, absolutely. The music, then bro, music is the hardest thing they take a stance on. But again, I was doing the easiest things for the hardest amount of work in the back end. So past all that, it became a point to where the podcast gave me an opportunity to, talk a little bit more, reflect a little bit more, put ourselves in a position to where it gives us a little bit of a different platform than opinionated and off topic. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, this brings in a different market too.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I feel like this is talking about the shows. You lay down a foundation. You got off topic, which is like entrepreneurs, creatives, anybody that can add value to conversation. It's kind of what I always tell somebody when they want to be off topic. You got Park Car Talks. The boy CJ is in, he's, if you guys haven't listened to his recap, go listen to it. You kind of get an idea of where he wants to take the content direction of that channel. But they were like us, started off as a podcast and obviously wanted to do more and more type of videos, different type of videos. But when they do their podcast, it's like laid back on the couch, chopping it up with the boys, having conversations, bring on a guest, kind of have a laid back conversation with him. Just
Absolutely.
like real free flowing. Then you have Keep It a Buck. As you guys know, we incorporate the music. We have the music at the end and the beginning.
And
We talk about maybe music segments depending on if something came out, but we
and
obviously pick a
that's
word
that's
or a topic
yeah,
lately
and that's like I
and
said.
kind of
I want to get it to a
go
point
into
to where
that.
we could
Yeah,
talk to artists and talk to people in that not
should be pretty easy though.
by all means,
Got that
but
network going.
you know
You
what
know
I'm
what I'm
saying.
saying?
It's just the ebbs and flows of the game.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
want it to be a space to where even we bring on kind of how I Am Athlete does it with their athletes, where they come and talk about real life situations. Just bring on people to discuss the topics we talk about. Kind of like last week when we did the cuffing season episode with our lovely
Yeah,
producer
yeah, with Cat and
and
CJ.
CJ. That was, I think, a phenomenal episode because we got just a lot more perspectives and a pretty big and a pretty open, in a subject that I feel like relates to everybody. You know what I mean? It's not just something that correlates with, it's not just this person that gets lonely or this person that gets lonely, but hey, we all get lonely sometimes. We all need a little bit of love and affection. Some people go to other people and I go to my fur coats. That's just the nature of the game and how it goes. But I think at the end of the day, like I said, seeing that reminded me like, don't box me in.
Yeah,
That Jamie Foxx
don't
quote.
put you in a box.
I'm not a philosopher. I don't claim to be, and it's not like I read that and I took offense. I was like, forget you, Jamie.
Don't put me in a box now. The boy
Oh
Don
my
Tolliver.
God, I caught myself on my lockdown. Yeah. So look, man, I'm gonna tell you, it was cool because again, I like the mindset because I don't get on here and try to preach to folks. I just get on here and try to tell what's real to my relative experience, depending on what we're talking about or what we're going through. And I think in the same sense, it's you know you do what you do, and that's what makes people resonate with you. Even if it takes longer than others,
Getting is no sin, man.
it's how you truly reflect yourself. I think that's what people are gonna resonate with, because over time, what's not authentic dies out. You know what I'm saying? What's not real doesn't hold stance. What isn't real, you could tell off rip, right? I think the interesting comparison is this, and I'll kind of end this and this note on this. If you look at a real plant and a fake plant, right? A fake plant you don't have to water, sits there and is more so used for decoration. So for a surface level look to make something look good, right? A real plant needs water. It needs sunlight. It might have times when it's dying. It might have times when it's vibrant. It needs a lot of things to truly grow and invest into. This podcast isn't supposed to be surface level like a fake plant. I'm not a nice decoration piece for your freaking living room. I'm a living and growing, it's a living and growing organism. It's
Yeah,
something
for
that we're
sure.
pouring into, and what we
For
pour
sure.
into
For
is what
sure.
we're going to get out of it.
Yeah, yeah.
Same thing with this media network. If we don't sit here and pour, take care, give it sunlight, give it food, give it care, give it sacrifice, right?
Yeah.
Then what we're going to get out of it is what we put into it. And that's why, to me, it's always been in my constant mindset, and that rounds the block back to where we first started at. I don't want to be boxed in. I don't want to be in a position to where, again, hitting that 100 subs and reflecting on everything I've been through, it reminded me of that. It was like, yo, people are genuinely resonating with us, and they do support us. And they don't just support me, but they support y'all. They support Park Car Talks. They support our whole brand. So now what do we continuously do to move forward with that and embrace it? How can we continue to expand the network and continue to grow? How can we continue to take advantage of what we've been given? So all jokes aside, just embracing the game, bro, embracing everything we've been given, and just making sure that we fully analyze and respect and invest what we got into this. And that's whatever you do, you know what I'm saying? Don't box me in. Before we close, Cam, I just wanted to kind of pay my respects real quick. I don't know if you heard about Coolio. Gangsta's Paradise obviously is his most popular song.
That shit's sad.
He passed away. I want to say it was 2 days ago.
Spending all my life.
Wow, we getting the vocals too.
Yeah, that's
You don't even know who sang that chorus.
I walk through the valley of the shadow.
No,
of
I'm not
death.
talking about that. That's him. I'm
Yeah.
talking about the Gangsta's Paradise, like the
I
actual.
probably don't know.
That's CeeLo.
Green.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So he had a cardiac. He went into cardiac arrest at his friend's home and passed away in the bathroom at the age of 59. And it's like I said, that's a legend. That's a pioneer. To me, that's somebody who, aside from Gangsta's Paradise, he did have good body of work musically. And his influence was, again, pretty well felt, bro. It's Coolio. People know who Coolio is. You know what I'm saying? So it's sad to see that as you grow older, some of those things pass on. Because we didn't really even grow up with Coolio like that.
No,
We
that's
really-
definitely like our parents.
Exactly.
generation, for sure.
So obviously, we just wanted to show love and pay our respect to his loved ones and his friends and his family. I think hearing that was something that kind of it just, again, in terms of reflection, it kind of put me in a space where I was like, dang, bro, Coolio? And in that same instance, Gavin Escobar, I know you heard about him. He was a former Cowboys tight end.
Yeah.
Second round pick back in, I want to say it was 2012. He passed away tragically in a climbing accident. And,
Yeah,
he's only
sad,
31.
man.
You know what I'm saying? And it sucks to see that somebody who, he moved on past the NFL and was a firefighter, which is crazy. Like, he had just became a firefighter. And, in the start of a new journey, he unfortunately loses his life. And it sucks because it's like the thing with athletes, right? Even with Kobe. You think if they die, Len Bias too was a popular example. When they die in a position to where they don't even get to reach really their full potential in what they do, a lot of people think of Kobe as a great basketball player, but they don't know as a competitor truly, and just as a mindset, that dude was killing it. Every aspect of what everybody wants to be, I feel like derives from Mamba mentality, from what Kobe was driving for. You know what I mean? So when we see Kobe start to go in a different direction, being an entrepreneur, being a businessman, being a coach, being all these facets, and we don't even get to experience that, it's sad because it was like it's just more than an athlete. Same with Mr. Gavin. He was, becoming a firefighter, played out his NFL career, enjoyed his time in the league, and had moved on and had made peace with that. And then these situations happen.
Yeah.
So, like I said, man, just wanted to pay our respects to that. And again, give our condolences both to the family of Gavin Escobar and Coolio, man. May you guys rest in peace, and thank you for everything you did on this earth. Like I said, man, it was some more sadder news. And then lastly, this is kind of a weird thing I found out. You remember we talked about PNB Rock a couple weeks ago?
Yep.
So they arrested his murderer, and it turns out it was a 17-year-old kid and his father.
That's insane.
I don't even have words for that.
Yeah.
Like, that is sick, and for a 17-year-old kid to do something like that, I blame the kid, but I blame the parents.
For sure.
Because that's how you were raised.
For sure.
That just has to be. Again, I don't even want to go into that, but once I found that out, man, and kind of just got that understanding, I was kind of sick, bro. I was disappointed just to see that in a society, where obviously killing our brothers is a real big thing right now. You see a lot of race on race crime. It's just nasty to see that we can't pull each other together, but we push each other apart. So again, bro, I beg and I implore people to love yours, bro. So truly embrace and understand that this lifetime is a lifetime. We don't got a lot here, bro. Obviously, we have to take advantage of everything and understand that the ebbs and flows of life is the ebbs and flows, but that doesn't limit us to anything. So, all that being said, we thank you guys for joining us on another lovely, and I think probably one of our best episodes so far.
Yeah, it's really good. I really enjoyed it. It was good.
Man,
It had segments too. You might have to get on that chapter grind on YouTube.
Hey man, look, y'all might have got me into a different bag with all this, man. I got to start upping my game. You know what I'm saying?
Get on that chapter grind.
I'm starting to go from crawling to taking my steps now, so I got to
chapter grind, more clips,
absolutely.
Like all that stuff.
So it'll come with due time. That's like I said. That's why this weekend will be big for establishing kind of a mindset of where I want to be in goals and tracking those things. Yeah. Cam, I gave you time, bro. I did. I gave you time, bro.
Yeah, I have a song.
I gave you time. I spun the block on you the first time and you wasn't ready. You got caught lacking. I had a substitute. So now, closing this beautiful episode, sending our people on with a phenomenal rest of their Wednesday. Either you're listening to this at 7 a.m. audio or 12 p.m. visuals. Cam, talk to us a little bit about this song before we close on out and send our people on a beautiful rest of their Wednesdays, brother.
Yeah, so Mac DeMarco.
Okay.
So, about to play. Steve talked a lot about reflection, and that's kind of what we did a lot in this podcast. I asked him some challenging questions. It's pertaining to the content and kind of direction he wants to take it. But I think it all kind of starts about that chamber of reflection by Mac DeMarco. The song just kind of puts you in a trance, kind of like Steve's song, especially if you're driving around at night. Spending some time alone, and then you just
don't pull up to your ex's house. I was kidding earlier. It's not a good idea.
You're gonna pull up to your ex's house, like Steve said, or you might be laying down at a beach in Maui. It's kind of a vibe this song will put you in.
I wish that over you. I don't wish the pain and the suffering from that. All that being said, you guys make sure you're clicking that subscribe button. We got everybody's links in the bio down below. Make sure you leave a like, comment what you thought about today's episode, and maybe what some of your favorite podcasts are. Or is there anything we should be listening to? If you're listening to this via Spotify, leave the 5-star rating. And all that being said, check out the Opinionated Media team. Obviously, Cam, Opinionated Podcast, and Off Topic. We have our PCT boys as well. Miss Cat, our lovely producer, always holding you down on the ones
Shout
and
out
twos
Kat,
behind
she's
the
amazing.
cameras. Oh no, absolutely. Without her, this wouldn't be a thing.
Yeah.
And again, make sure you check out the entire team and what we're doing, guys. Leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And Cam, send us home with a little bit of Mac DeMarco, sir.
We're going to be playing at Mac DeMarco, Chamber of Reflection. Hope y'all enjoy this banger episode. It's phenomenal. Make sure you guys comment, like, subscribe. Check out the boy Steve, Ayo Rue, and
Man, don't check me out. Check this fur coat out. You dig? It's getting cold outside.
it might be
I'm
some
on one.
it might be some tunes coming soon from the boy. I don't know. We might be getting real busy here soon.
Oh, bro. Hey, man. Shout out to our boy Cayman. Made it back to town.
Shout out to Cam,
Touchdown.
man. It's time, and the Avengers have assembled, and it's about to get spooky.
I think I got to make my logo the fur coat now. I think that's what this is. I think we've embraced this.